Mr. Kennedy, don't you know when it's time to throw in the towel?
No! Leon!
Well, there goes monetization. Anyway, here I am in the well, the pitfall where many unfortunate victims meet their end at the hands of Salazar. I can't believe Ashley didn't feel the need to tell us about the most obvious trap in video game history. This place is cold, dark, featuring the long-awaited return of the bats. Our best friend is here also. He should consider himself lucky, because no sane person would ever step foot down here, at least not someone with money worth spending. The puddles and the echoes are such a great detail. As small as this place is, I love the atmosphere. I'd often separate the castle segment from the horror of RE4, specifically areas such as the hospital or most of the village are where I believe the game shines the most, but it's actually very creepy down here. There's 11 dead bodies in total, most of them missed impalement, although some weren't quite as lucky. Nevertheless, they all died quick deaths judging by their injuries and expressions. This one beside the merchant really caught me off guard. They have a white robe almost blending into the rocks. I didn't even know this was a person until very recently. Now that I think of it, maybe the merchant comes down here to strip the bodies of treasures. He is awkwardly close to this one. He's looking directly at something. Maybe it's that dog. I mean, at this point it's wishful thinking, but it could still be a decent hiding spot. No, it's not. It's another body, only this one is holding a crown. He's sitting with a pained expression, not a shocked expression. This means he died slowly, opting to rest in his final moments before succumbing to injury. There's a lot of blood covering the adjacent wall, implying he was sitting here for a very long time. It's very upsetting really, but most importantly it sparks the questions: who was he and what is he doing with Salazar's crown? We have to establish a plausible motive for the Zealot's involvement in the theft of Salazar's crown, as well as his cause of death, a potential killer, and his actions leading him up to this point where Leon found him. Instead of trying to escape the castle, why did he settle for this depressing place? Why didn't anyone, including the merchant, apprehend the crown after this obvious failed attempt to acquire some wealth and presumably escape the castle in search of a better life? They're all interesting questions, and I'll start from the beginning. A simple theory is that the monk tried to steal Salazar's crown from the throne room located directly above the pit, and subsequently tried to escape through the trap unsuccessfully, or survived the fall after being caught. If this was the case, he would have been the only one out of these 11 victims to not suffer a fatal injury, surviving the initial fall, yet left debilitated and heavily wounded. He just didn't have the energy nor the motor function to climb the ladder and escape through the boiler room elevator. So he had no choice but to rot down here with the others. Again, it's very upsetting to think about. I can't imagine the pain that he must have felt after breaking both of his legs and being unable to crawl his way out. There's actually a lot of evidence to support this. First of all, none of the crown jewels are in his possession, it's just the crown on its own. Which means if he escaped down here from the courtyard, which is essentially where Leon finds himself after climbing his way out of here, and the only other way to travel down here besides falling down the pit, surely he had to have come into contact with the crown's insignia then, but he just decided to leave it alone. But why would he do that? The insignia is worth more than the crown itself. Needless to say, I don't think he ever came into contact with this lift at any point. The only other way he could have got down here was by falling down the hole, like Leon and the others. Evidently, he just got very lucky and survived it. So it's impossible that he tried to hide the crown for later or anything like that, because if he was able to climb down the ladder to get here, he would have easily been able to climb back up. In which case, we would have found him in the boiler room or Luna Vistador's nest when he eventually succumbed to injury. Something's not quite right though. I 100% believe that the Zealot fell down the pit and survived the fall, but the amount of blood on the wall makes it look like he was killed abruptly, probably by a gunshot. This brings us to the merchant. It was very weird to find him down here in the first place, more so when we see him looking directly towards this dead body and standing over this one. I don't think this was out of animosity, however. The merchant could have just came down here to put the suffering zealots out of their misery. He would have been doing them a favour, to be honest. But I do have another theory for the merchant's possible involvement. It's obvious that the crown was easily obtainable by the merchant before we got here, and I think he left it here on purpose for a few reasons. Number one, the merchant knew that Verdugo was close by and fled down the ladder for safety, prioritising his life above anything else at this point. The fade out shot after Leon shoots Salazar's earlobe signifies that multiple minutes have gone by since, meaning that there was a small gap where the merchant had time to make his way down here. Number 2, he saw the crown without any jewels inside, choosing to let Leon take it instead, incentivizing him to kill Verdugo. Knowing Leon's attentiveness for eye treasures, he knew that Leon would have been more likely to kill Verdugo if money was involved. Number 3, he knew that the crown wasn't worth much on its own, and it was too much of a risk to take down Verdugo by himself, so waiting at the top of the lift where conveniently the insignia is found to complete the finished crown, he could then offer Leon a fraction of the crown's actual worth and take it for himself without any of the risk. Another genius strategy by the merchant. If he took the crown for himself, Leon would have had no reason to kill Verdugo and would have only got the insignia. This would have lost him some money in the end. He had everything planned out all along. So we know why the merchant was down here, but there's still one more question that's left unanswered. Forgetting the merchant entirely, why didn't Salazar apprehend the crown after all of this? He's the one who operates the trap. Anyone convicted of stealing would be obligated to return any items before sentencing. The bullet wound could be contributed to Salazar. Maybe he was making some sort of example out of this person. We know that Salazar isn't as evil as some may think, so it's plausible that, much like the merchant, he spared the zealot of a prolonged and painful death. The crown being left in his possession could also be a gesture. Maybe they were related, making this person royalty and the rightful owner to the crown. Although the common black robe contradicts this, if only the robe was a different colour. My conclusion for this mystery is quite basic when accounting for everything. I believe that this zealot was convicted of another crime entirely. Whether or not this was stealing something else or attempting to flee the castle is speculative, but he definitely didn't have the crown in his possession when he fell down the trap. He simply found it among the decayed bodies and puddles of stagnant water. It's rare that anyone survives the fall unless they have a grappling hook in their back pocket.
Won't fall for this old trick.
No one has set foot down here for a very long time. Those who didn't bother to crawl around in the water looking for a treasure. No, this poor soul found the crown in the water, choosing to hold on to it in his final moments as a good luck charm. There was no heist involved. The only people who know about the crown's existence are Salazar's deceased grandparents, Leon, the merchant, and the monk who found it. So that's all I have for this mystery. I had to get this one done very quickly, but I absolutely loved it from start to finish. This was my second viewer requested video to date. I thought the idea was perfect and I was very excited to talk about it. If anyone has a mystery or a video in general that you'd like to be featured, please send them to my email account, which you can find on my channel. Overall, I find the well or the pit to be one of those amazing small rooms in Resident Evil that has so much memorability, regardless of how small it is.